Oh yeah, I've got the Mobius back on my hat now. This is the Flyzone Zero. I've never had this guy out for a video, I don't think. I have had him out this year, but I didn't take video of him. In fact, I was looking at clearing out some planes I wasn't going to fly a lot earlier this year, and I did think of selling this guy. I sold my Focke-Wulf, which was a bit similar, because I'm not, well, for one thing, these, you know, warbirds with retracts and things don't really fly well off the grass field, and the Focke-Wulf was a real handful, and you definitely couldn't land it on the grass field, not with the retracts. I mean, even this guy you can't really, to be honest. This guy flies more pleasantly than the Focke-Wulf, but see, I've got his wheel pants off, and I've got these wheels on which are not his original wheels, and you can't retract those. They won't. Double check. We got throttle cut on here. See, he's got these nice retracts and everything, but these wheels won't go into the wheelbase. You can't retract. I've given up on retracting for the, you know, so that I can get him to work off the grass, because the small wheels that go into the retract bay, even with the pants off, are they're just too small to work on the grass. So, I mean, it's, you know, it's a bit sad that, you know, we're using these non-scale wheels and everything. I've got the EFC 721 camera mounted on top of him here rather carefully, because his paint comes off rather easily. So I didn't want to glue it to the tail or anything like that, because I didn't want to pull paint off. Okay, that's blue lights flashing, that's recording now. You know, I wanted to put the camera on him, but I wanted to be careful not to mess his paint and everything up, so I've got it glued over the canopy there with some bubble wrap underneath it to sort of hold it, well, not to hold it, it's just to keep it so that the tape wouldn't pull the paint off the canopy, because this paint pulls off everything. You can see it's coming off a bit. Of course, that was true on the original Zeros as well. They did not use particularly high quality paint on them, so when you see pictures of real Zeros in combat conditions, they tended to have bits of the paint coming off them. So it's not inappropriate in that sense. Nonetheless, and I didn't want to pull large chunks of paint off the wheels and everything, off the tail and everything. I haven't flown this guy a lot, as witness the fact when I set him up, I tried to fly him. I put the AnyLink on at first, because he is a Flyzone plane, but I guess I bought this one plug and play rather than transmitter ready, so although he's an AnyLink plane, he does not have the AnyLink SLT receiver, and he just has one of my standard little Lemon receivers in. He has split flaps, as the real, famous last words, as did the real plane. Yeah, they're not going down very much, really, but anyway.
Landing flaps. Takeoff flaps.
Yeah, see, these are the split flaps here, meaning that they just go down underneath, but they're not going down on top. They're not very strong flaps, but they do something.
Throttle cut off.
I don't know. It's still cold. Sun's coming up. It'll warm up, but oh, got to arm the ESC. There you go. Got to arm the ESC by putting the throttle up to maximum, back down to minimum before it'll do anything. Some ESCs do that, some don't. Got my flaps on the, what is it, the D switch here rather than the little dial. I don't know why I did that, but oh. See, even with these wheels, it's a bit tricky to get him to run on the grass.
Flaps up.
Sun's a bit of a problem now. It's going to be blinding me. Nice and all that, but it's, oh, it really is. Yes, it's bright. Even with these bigger wheels, which are non-scale and won't fit into the retract bays, it's still a bit tricky to get him to run on the grass without nosing over. And basically, it was next to impossible to get him to run on the grass. Oh God, I don't find I'm seeing very well. I don't know. I think it's just me, but I don't know. I don't know, I'm tired, I guess, and whatever. I seem to be seeing spots before my eyes, which is not good when you're trying to
Time
fly.
remaining, 5.
Fly a plane. He's a pretty plane, and I've always had a soft spot for the Zero as an airframe. So I hung on to him, even though I'm really not, you know, I'm not much of a flyer for flying these larger scale warbirds. Well, not larger scale, but bigger. Even the micro warbirds, I'm not all that much into them. I've got a few, but they're not my main thing. They are really not at all my main thing to fly. Not at all. You know, I'm not really, I'm very interested in the history of aviation, including warbirds, but in terms of flying, I'm much more comfortable. I'm much more comfortable flying a sort of more docile domestic, whatever, civil aviation plane, something like a Cub or whatever. You know, you can tell my taste. The UMX Carbon Cub is one of my favourite planes, and I really like the Park Zone Sport Cub S. And I like the gliders as well. They're a different thing again. The Concendo I'm very fond of. You know, this plane I like the looks of and everything, but I'm not definitely not as comfortable flying it as I am with those kind of planes, and it's not. See, terrible control there. I did not do well with that.
Time remaining, 3 minutes.
And what was I going to say? And you can't get the full benefit with it any. And they're hard to see. See, I mean, it's harder to see the orientation of something like this. It's dark and low wing and whatever. I don't know. My hat's threatening to come off now. And you know, this guy's not that stable that you want to be taking your hands off the sticks much. He's not terribly unstable, but you know, he's not. You don't really want to be taking your hands off the sticks while you're flying him, particularly. You know, he's sort of around the margin of what I'm comfortable with, but he does look nice. Oh God, sunlight in my eyes.
Time remaining, 2 minutes.
Oh yes, that's also probably true. We should probably be bringing him for a landing now. Anyway.
Takeoff flaps.
Even though those flaps don't go down a lot, you do still, he does still, you can see balloons up a little bit when you put them on. I guess I don't have a down elevator mix in with them. And getting him to land without tipping over is not easy, because, and was impossible with the default wheels. And I'm not even going to try and taxi him, I don't think. It feels so wet, and it's just going to throw a lot of rubbish up all over him. Yeah, I mean, it was pretty much impossible to land him without flipping him upside down on this kind of grass with the original wheels that came with the retracts. That's why I put those rather ugly, larger wheels on, because we got throttle cut on. Yes, it's usually just instinct to put it on. And I guess we can turn this camera off now. Yeah, stop recording. Yeah, I mean, those wheels are kind of ugly, but you know what you're going to do. I couldn't land the guy. I just could not land him without him completely flipping upside down, pretty much, with the wheels that came with him. They were what, about 1 3/4 inch, something like that, wheels, and they just. This is the problem. You know, these grass fields are just not suitable for flying these warbirds with retracts, really. I'm just going to...
Throttle cut off.
Just going to throw the crap off the propeller there a bit.
Cut on.
Uses a 3-bladed propeller there. So we flew for... we got 1:23 remaining. I mean, actually not very long. I've only got the timer set to 6 then. So we only flew for 4.5 minutes. I would have thought you could fly for a bit longer than that, but I don't know. Let's have a look. Little Lemon receiver that I tend to use there. I use lots of those. And battery fairly far forward, not insanely so. It can go further forward, but yeah, about as far forward as you'd really want to make it. And let's just see if we can see how much battery that used. I would have thought he could fly for longer than that, actually. I didn't realize I got the timer set to such a short time. Well, 11.9, 3.95. Yeah, he probably could fly. I've got the timer set to 6. That was 4.5. Yeah, he could probably fly for... you could probably set the timer for longer. He could probably fly for 9. That's a 22 standard 2200 milliamp hour 3-cell. He could probably fly for 9 minutes on that. I've got the timer set to 6 for some reason. I don't remember why, but really, I think you'd be perfectly safe flying him on that battery for 9 minutes. Anyway, so there you go. The Flyzone Zero, and it is a Zero A6M2. You can tell from the cowling the way it's got the smaller cowling with the and it has a slightly larger wing span and whatever than the A6M5. Often when you see a green Zero, it's an A6M5 because they painted them green a lot more when it got into the A6M5. A lot of the A6M2s were the sort of browny grey colour when they were flying them off the carriers. So it's more typical to see the A6M2s in the browny grey camouflage, and I would have preferred that in this if they made it available, but they don't. It's only in the green camouflage. Not there's anything wrong with the green camouflage, but it's the grey, whatever they call it, the browny grey is more typical of the A6M2, and the A6M2 flying-wise is better. The later version was just to make it more heavily armed and things. But strictly as a flying airframe, the A6M2 was the best flying version. Anyway, pity about the wheels, but it's necessary to fly off this grass. Flyzone A6M2 Zero.